Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Fellowship, a weekly iPod broadcast produced and hosted by your friends at Nation Golf. My name is Adam Hawk. Sitting here in San Clemente, California with me is, of course, Ryan Engle. Before we get into today's show, I want to plug the all-new Fellowship Podcast Instagram page.
Ooh.
If you want to support us and what we're doing, open your Instagram app, head on over to the Fellowship Podcast, and give the kids a follow. We're posting clips of the show over there, and we could use your help driving engagement, which drives the almighty algorithm, which, in theory, drives more listeners, or at the very least, gets more eyes and ears on this product. You following that page and sharing our content is very, very much appreciated as I try to make good on my 2024 New Year's resolution of getting this damn show sponsored. Speaking of this damn show, on today's program, we will continue our discussion about just how bad this year is going for the PGA Tour. We will react to AK going DFL. We'll talk about gassing out on the back nine of your round of golf. I'll give some Oscars predictions that absolutely no one is asking for.
Why are we doing that?
Engle will have a movie review on Dune 2 if he prepared like I asked him to, which means he probably won't have a review.
I wrote one sentence.
Very good. And we will get his thoughts on the Puma-Arnold Palmer collaboration as we head into this week's event at Bay Hill.
You hate to see it.
But first, this past week, the Engle family went deep into their savings account and maxed out a few credit cards to take their beautiful daughter on a 2-day trip to Disneyland that she will never remember.
Not true. We did the Bippity Boppity Boutique, had the princess makeover. She will be remembering that because we've got the photos.
You can show me photos of stuff that I have no recollection of. It doesn't mean that I remembered it. It simply means that I'm seeing a picture of it.
Well, you're speaking from experience, and your experience is coming from a fucking idiot. So, you know, there's people smarter than you. I know that's hard to believe.
Did you just say that a 3-year-old is smarter than me?
No, I'm just saying that her makeup, DNA situation around her is setting her up for more success, potentially.
We won't bore the audience with a recap. Instead, I want to bring up that I heard that you ran into our good friend, Mr. Texas Roadhouse himself, Jordan Dixon, at Disneyland. I guess it's true what they say. It's a small world after all.
Hilarious. I cracked myself up on that one.
Yeah, ran into him.
Is it awkward running into an adult without kids at a theme park built entirely for kids while you were there with your kid?
No. Jordan and Angelique are the normal ones. They are good, red-blooded Americans having a good time at Disneyland. What you're talking about are those freaks. And you know what I'm saying. And I know it comes across harsh, but there's some freaky, kidless wonders at that park. Let's be honest about this, folks. The freaks are taking over. There's a lot of weird shit going on over there. A lot of weird people.
Going back to my original question about running into childless people at a park built for children, and again, not singling out the Dixons, because as you mentioned, they are the normal ones of that bunch. But I do have to ask, what are childless adults doing at Disneyland? I ask that genuinely because I really want to know. I see no reason for it. Everything about that park is one giant thorn in the ass. It's painfully expensive, painfully crowded, painfully inconvenient, and painfully designed for kids ages 5 to 14. So, what is it? Do these adults just love cartoons? I like cartoons, but the cartoons I like are The Simpsons, King of the Hill, BoJack Horseman, not Mickey's Clubhouse and Aladdin. Is it the rides? The rides are completely devoid of thrills. If I'm looking to ride a roller coaster, I'm going to Knott's Ghetto Farm, strapping on a bulletproof vest, getting my will updated on LegalZoom, and having some real fun. Now, is it the food? Because if you want a hot dog and a soda, let's go to the Costco food court. I can buy you 30 of the best hot dogs you'll ever eat for the price of parking your car at Disneyland. The only reason to go to Disneyland is to watch your kid have sensory overload, akin to how we all felt in our 20s spending a night in Vegas. But every time I go there, I see a bunch of adults without children tooling around the park, and I just don't get it. Like, is it beneath those people to go to the ball pit at McDonald's and hang out there?
Yeah, I get why that bothers you. But what bothers me is the lack of common sense by all the other park goers. You know, you have this big walkway and there's stores on one side and rides on the other. You drove on the freeway to get here. You know how the world works. You're going one way, people are going the other. You kind of like look up here and there and have some common courtesy to move around and stuff. But you have these groups of 10 fucking people who just stop in the middle of these big walkways with masses of people trying to like get from one place to the other. What are you doing? Move over to the fucking side, you idiot. That shit rubs me so raw.
Moving on, pop quiz for you, Engle. What do Grayson Murray, Nick Dunlap, Matthew Pavon, Nick Taylor, Jake Knapp, and Austin Eckroat all have in common?
They're all pro golfers that no one knows about.
You got half of that right. They're all winners this year on the PGA Tour, and 99% of golf fans have no idea who the hell they are.
Didn't I kind of just say that?
Well, you didn't get the winners part right, but you got half of it right.
We're all winners, man.
Okay.
Even you.
Since the start of the calendar year, there have been 9 events on the PGA Tour. 6 of them have been won by relatively anonymous guys, the 6 I just listed, and the other 3 weren't exactly blockbusters. Chris Kirk in Hawaii, and as much as I love Chris Kirk, he's not exactly a household name. Wyndham Clark at Pebble, and yes, Wyndham is now a 3-time winner with a major, but his win in Monterey was rained out after 54 holes. And Hideki Matsuyama at Riv in a field that didn't include John Rahm, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Cam Smith, Joaquin Niemann, and Tyrrell Hatton. And the guys who were there at Riv either got DQ'd for signing a bad scorecard, shit their chonies from the flu and WD'd, or missed the cut altogether, or just didn't bother showing up on Sunday when Hideki ran away with it. So let me articulate exactly what's on the mind of all pro golf fans right now, because what you've been feeling these past 2 months is actually quantifiable. You've been feeling like the golf you're watching is boring, and you would be right. It's been dreadful. This has been a criminally horrible start to the year for the PGA Tour. The Tour cannot catch a break with weather, whether it's Pebble, Phoenix, or Florida. It's been terrible, and that means long delays, threesomes, guys going off on 10 instead of 1, finishing in the dark, finishing on Monday, or in the case of Pebble, not finishing at all. So that sucked. But on top of that, everything has been diluted because of LIV picking off enough top players to finally put a dent in the PGA Tour big enough that everyone can't help but notice. Then there's the addition of the elevated events, which no one really understands but pretends that they do. All I understand is that every other week on the PGA Tour feels like watching a week on the Korn Ferry Tour. So bad weather, bad fields, anonymous winners. And that brings me to my final point, the winners. I get that golf is witchcraft and it's the hardest game in the world and that these fields are 144 players deep. I get that anyone can win any week, but where are the Scotty Schefflers and the Jordan Spieths and the Rory McIlroys and the Victor Hovlands and the Max Homas, the Xanders, the Cantleys, the Morikawas, the Fleetwoods, the Thegalas, the JTs, the Cam Youngs? Where are these guys? 17 of the 19 top-ranked players in the world are on the PGA Tour, and combined, they have 0 wins this year. That's a problem. And that's a problem because now more than ever, the PGA Tour needs their stars to be stars. I need them to be stars. I never want to turn on my TV again and see Matthew Pavon battling it out with Steven Yeager. And I sure as hell don't want the highlight of the year to be a playoff between 47-year-old Charlie Hoffman and his back brace against Nick Taylor. Where are the stars? Where are the wins? Where is the drama?
There's a reason why whenever Tiger Woods farts in the bathtub that it's fucking breaking news. That's all they got, dude. They've been riding his tiger tail for a long time, dude. Now this is what you got. Fuck, with as much squawking as Rory does and how everyone just freaks out about how beautiful his drives are, how every Instagram post is how beautiful his swing is and how he's got so much to say on the podium. Where the fuck's he? You can't win one of these? What was this tournament sponsored by this weekend?
Cognizant.
What the fuck is that?
Don't know.
Okay, so Honda's out. So you lost a major sponsor, and now you're bringing up the Snickel Fritz from below?
Honda isn't just a major sponsor. They were the longest running consecutive sponsor on the tour. And they said, we're out.
That says a lot.
It does. And it's not like we're asking Scotty and Rory and Victor and Spieth and Max and everyone else I talked about a few minutes ago to run down John Rahm and Brooks Koepka. We're asking them to keep up with Austin Eckroat and Matthew Pavon. Come on, guys. Do something. Again, if you felt like what you're watching this year is pure dog shit, you now know how to validate those feelings. Horrible weather, horrible finishes, horrible fields, horrible play by the 17 best players in the world who are still on the PGA Tour. Horrible start to the year. And with that, I say happy Arnold Palmer week, everyone. Maybe we get a golf tournament worth watching.
I've been saying this for a long time to you on here in our conversations together, even before all of this mess between the new leagues and all this bullshit. I've been saying forever that the tour in general and a lot of these tour stops have lost their way, have lost their history and charm, and that they're just smoke and mirror corporate elitist pandering money grabs. Yeah, that worked while things were doing good and you had the household names sniffing the top week after week and it was making decent television and everyone was subconsciously programmed to believe, whether it was true or not, that this tour and the stakes and the pressure mattered because that's what created the drama. We all believed in all that when really what was happening was the tour was deteriorating and they were catering to the upper class and calling themselves a 501c while they're just paying off their buddies and moving money around. And ultimately, they weren't improving their product. When the shit finally hit the fan and they get exposed, now it's like, oh, fuck, their product isn't that good. And now they lost a lot of guys, and now who are these guys? Oh, shit, these sponsors are out. The West Coast Swing was a joke. It was an utter joke.
And not a funny one at that.
No, it was bad. It was a flop top to bottom.
Yep.
And now what do we have to look forward to? Thank God. Thank the Lord and Savior for Augusta National Golf Club.
You said it.
Because you know the USGA is going to fucking shoot themselves in the foot for the US Open. They have a great championship, but they always find ways to fucking make it stupid. The R&A usually does a really good job with the Open, the British Open, but it's all dependent on the course that year and the weather. The PGA Championship, you know Blocky's going to qualify for that again, so it's going to be annoying as hell. But Augusta National, they just know how to do it. They still bring the product. They still bring the history, the tradition. They're still just very, very strict on their branding, their presentation, the taste of it, the vibe of it, the history of it, the look of it, the prestige. Everyone's tuning in. They still are holding on to what's left of this professional game. And they're holding on with a tight, firm grip. You know they're going to deliver. But what's really sad about all this is when you look at it and you realize how good they are and how good they have it, that, wow, the rest of it is fucking trash. They're the gold standard. They're above and beyond everything in pro golf. Is there a close second? And if there is, what does third look like? And if third is right there, where does the rest lie? Then you start going down the list. PGA Tour is in big trouble, dude. They're in big trouble, and you heard it here first, folks.
Hey, man, Full Swing Season 2 debuts on Netflix today. I'm sure you're excited.
Yeah, that's going to save the game.
Let's briefly swing it over 11 hours into the future, all the way out to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where Anthony Kim and his beaten-up face debuted on the LIV Golf Tour after 12 years in hiding. I don't know about you, but if I'm in the marketing department and I'm in charge of getting as many eyeballs and as much buzz on Anthony Kim's return to pro golf, here's what I'm not doing. I'm not putting him on the CW at 3 a.m. to play golf by himself in shorts in Saudi Arabia on the freaking LIV Golf Tour. If you want to see a masterclass in turning something meaningful into something completely meaningless, check out Anthony Kim's debut this past weekend. Making that guy's comeback disappear is nothing short of a magic act. Do you know how hard it is to make Anthony Kim, often referred to as the Sasquatch of golf, obsolete in his comeback after 12 years? And for the record, those who missed it, which is everyone, missed a guy finish dead last, 33 shots off the lead. So there's that. There's also his face, which looks like it was run over by an 18-wheeler, which brings me no joy in saying, but this guy aged a decade in dog years. And what's concerning about his face is it really looks like there's more to his story than an Achilles injury and an insurance policy. That guy looks like he's seen some things and done some things. And for what it's worth, he says he has a story to tell and will tell it when the time is right, which, if you're reading in between the lines, means that the story we think we know isn't the real story. The question is, will we actually get the real story, or a narrative driven by the narrator? Is what Anthony Kim eventually tells us going to be the truth? We live in a time where public figures and athletes have realized they don't need the media to tell their stories anymore. Derek Jeter founded the Players Tribune, where athletes wrote about themselves. Michael Jordan produced his own documentary called The Last Dance. All of these guys have their own podcasts and social media feeds. They tell their stories now. And how much can we trust someone being their own witness? But that's where we're at. So who knows what we'll hear or when we'll hear it and from who. But the comeback was lackluster. He seemed more vanished on that golf course in Jeddah playing for LIV than he did when he was in hiding. He finished dead last, and all anyone wants to know about was his face. So the bottom line is this wasn't the coup for LIV that it seemed to be a week ago. What are your thoughts on Anthony Kim's comeback?
AK dead fucking last. Are we really that surprised? I'm not. Our boy Butsy was on a podcast I saw on Instagram. He was like, I got AK winning it. I saw a bunch of the hype golf fanboys saying the same shit. Come on, you guys. Even in a league like that, you can say what you want about it. 54 holes, shotgun start. It's an exhibition. There's still some of the best golfers in today's game in that league playing that tournament who are dialed, who have been at it, on the road, doing it. You think he's just going to show up with his shoes untied and a fucking t-shirt and beat people? That ain't how it works, dude. That's not the game of golf. First of all, I want to talk on this regurgitated bullshit story of this insurance policy. You see it in all the comments, and they speak from authority. It was an insurance policy. He couldn't play golf because of this. It's like, says who? So I did some research. There is one story that has been regurgitated over and over again from 2012, and it was from SI.com, and that's where this whole quote-unquote insurance policy thing started. And they claim in this one story that a undisclosed source from IMG told them off the record that he had a $10 million insurance policy. And then an undisclosed source close to Anthony Kim, quote unquote, a friend, said it's north of that, not 20, but close. So that's the story. That's the source. No one knows. There's no insurance company out there to back it up. In fact, I invite anyone out there to search any pro athlete for an insurance policy. And maybe there are some, but I'll tell you this. There's no middle of the pack PGA Tour guys that have them. I don't know if that story is real or not, but what I do know is that there isn't enough on it to speak from authority on an Instagram post and say that it is. The fact of the matter is there is a documentary coming out, and I have friends who have seen the trailer, and it's coming from Anthony Kim's camp, and the story is about him basically partying his career away, doing blow, being up for 5 days, couldn't hit the brakes. But like you said, he's got a story to tell. My problem with it is who gains from this? Who's going to make the money? I'd be pretty safe to bet that we're not going to get the whole true story here, and that the story that we're going to get is beneficial to the angle and the agenda that is Anthony Kim's next steps. Everyone makes mistakes, and he has a daughter now. He looks to be a happy family man. If all those mistakes are behind him and he's trying to put his best foot forward and set his family up with all this stuff, I like seeing him back competing in golf. I hope it does work out for him. But still got to be honest with the journalism. We're going to just ride along with this documentary and just agree with whatever he says. No one's going to press him. That's my issue. Golf journalism is a fucking joke, and Tiger Woods ruined it. Tiger convinced everyone that he was America's sweetheart, and he got the sweetheart deal, and everyone started covering for this guy because no one wanted to put a chink in the guy's armor and fuck up their payday from the trickle-down effect. Everyone was so protective of like, oh my God, the purses are bigger, the sponsorships are bigger. Let it ride, let it slide. Don't fucking ask him that. Everyone started protecting this guy. No one keeps it real. It's all bullshit.
We're not going to get the answers, and on top of that, a lot of people are going to feel like the answers we do get are honest and truthful when really they are coming from the person who stands to gain the most by crafting the narrative the way that they want to. I mentioned it earlier. You look back at The Last Dance, that 10-part documentary about the Chicago Bulls that took the world by storm a couple of years ago. That was completely edited, produced, final cut approved by Michael Jordan.
Yep.
And after that came out, every single one of his teammates had something to say about how inaccurate it was. So when you let the narrative be controlled by the narrator, when you let the main character be the main editor, how can you really believe what you're seeing is real? So like you said, a lot of questions, not a lot of answers. There is a documentary coming out. It all seems like some very well-produced, well-thought-out, holistic marketing. Hey, this guy's going to make his debut. Let's have a movie that chases it pretty soon after. Let's put all these questions to bed. And while we're at it, let's make some money off of this. Let's make some money from Liv. Let's make some money from the doc. And you made a good point, and I said it a couple of episodes ago when we first started talking about Anthony Kim. This insurance policy was reported by one source a long, long time ago. No one really knows anything. I went digging into this whole insurance policy and I couldn't find anything about it. Like you mentioned, where's the company that did it? Where are other people that have done something similar to this? Where are the questions about when that insurance policy was taken out and when it ends?
This is what's frustrating, Hawk. The general public that consumes sports, social media, news on mostly our phones, the general public has a hard time knowing when a planned and thought out and scheduled post is in front of them. And these guys are going to be getting that from his account from here on out. And not only are they not going to be able to pick up on the fact that this is all planned and scheduled and coincides with this doc and the next thing, and they're not even going to pick up on that. They're going to fucking believe it and then defend it against other people questioning it.
Right. No, you're totally right. I was in a meeting yesterday at my other job where we were watching a presentation given by some Gen Z employee who showed us some statistical data that 59% of searches on the internet are occurring on TikTok. Meaning where our generation would go to Google to search for something and get results that typically come from news outlets when we search for something like what happened to Anthony Kim. You'll see a New York Times article, a Wall Street Journal article, an ESPN article. This generation goes onto TikTok and says what happened to Anthony Kim. And what turns up for them are 15 to 60-second videos of God knows who talking about God knows what. And they are perceiving that as truth.
That is fucking crazy.
But that's what's happening. And if you extrapolate that across things of far greater consequence, like, I don't know, political issues, presidential elections, abortion rights, global warming, taxes, anything that's of actual consequence, and you've got this next generation searching on TikTok for their answers, and what's populating in their search results is nobody's talking like somebody's, we're in for a lot worse than people believing what Anthony Kim is going to say about himself. But you're right that when people do see whatever he puts out, it will be part of a marketing campaign that was carefully thought out and scheduled. And the reason those are carefully thought out and scheduled is because it works. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't do it if they didn't think that the receivers on the end of that information weren't going to buy it. But forget about Anthony Kim and his story, true or false. What we have here, if you bottom line this thing after this weekend, was a Cognizant Classic that ended on a Monday with a no-name winner and an Anthony Kim comeback that never even happened because no one saw it. So here's where we're at as golf fans. The PGA Tour has a really bad product right now, and LIV has made no progress on catching on with the general public despite signing Jon Rahm and Anthony Kim in the last 2 months. The two sides who allegedly merged on June 6th and promised a deal by December 31st last year aren't even talking 9 months after merging and 3 months past their self-imposed deadline. And we all just have to wait for the Masters to see golf worth watching. Great job, everybody.
It's so bad. It's so bad. It's almost unbelievable.
Yep. It's the Arnold Palmer week as the PGA Tour heads to Bay Hill. Did you see this collaboration between Ricky Fowler and Puma and the Arnold Palmer brand?
What is going on? Who's designing that? If Arnie saw all that shit, like none of that shit would have passed while he was alive. This stuff's bad. And this like side-by-side thing with Mr. Palmer and Ricky wearing like Bermuda shorts and like some flower all over print. Do me a favor, guys. Go to their page, take a look, and smell the roses. It's so bad. So my question isn't like, what the fuck is Puma doing? This is par for the course for Puma. They're not capable of doing a good collection for Arnold Palmer. They've clearly signed a deal to do a collection every year with them during the tournament week is when they launch the shit. My question is, how does this get through the estate? Do they have a say in the final product? Because we know from experience, you and I, that they protect their brand, their logos, their verbiage very strictly. We know that.
You're talking about the Arnold Palmer estate.
Yes.
And the fact that we have worked with the Arnold Palmer estate in the past.
Yes.
When we did a collaboration with AP Spiked, the lemonade, iced tea, and alcohol cocktail that they put together in a can. So yes, we do know. We are speaking from experience.
And when we started that relationship, once we got it to a certain point, then they presented it to the estate. And when they went to the estate, the guy said, oh yeah, I've seen those guys. We want them to take this, and this down off of their website.
Right, because we were infringing a little bit by calling a...
Red visor, Arnie's visor.
Yeah, and we also had a polo called the King, and we used Arnold Palmer's name in the copy.
Yeah.
So they've got people watching.
And they're strict about that, which they should be. We were very open and honest and apologetic about all that, and we changed all that up and got to work with them, and that was beautiful. But they didn't have a say in our final product. And that's my point here, is why don't they have a say? Because they should. They protect their brand and logos and verbiage, like we said. They need to protect the product too. Nobody knows what it should look like more than me. So Arnold Palmer Estate, you're looking for a guy to go to war with Puma and make sure they don't put a bunch of trash product out there with the umbrella on it. Hire me. I'll get in those design rooms with these nerds, and we will iron this out like a fresh, pleated, high-waisted trouser that Mr. Palmer used to wear.
I found it interesting that they did the side-by-side shots of Arnold Palmer in the 50s and 60s alongside Ricky Fowler today, because I think the entire point of a side-by-side is to show the similarities. Like, look at us paying homage. Look at how close we got to what it once was. Look at what we're borrowing off of and continuing the legacy of. And when you see Ricky Fowler side-by-side with Arnold Palmer, what I noticed was, look how much we missed. Look at Arnold Palmer in the trousers. Look at Ricky Fowler in the shorts. Look at Arnie in the logo-free classic PK polo. Look at Ricky Fowler in the all-over print. Look at Arnold Palmer with no hat, no sunglasses. Look at Ricky Fowler with both of those. None of this is even close. It's not close. If the whole point was to pay homage, you went in the exact opposite direction. And I don't get it. And this isn't the first collaboration we've seen this year with estates of yesteryear. This happened at Pebble Beach with Bing Crosby. A brand did a collab with them. And none of what I saw from that collaboration looked like anything Bing Crosby would wear, let alone sign off on. And now it's happening again with Arnold Palmer.
Ricky Fowler.
Who I like. Great guy.
Ricky Fowler couldn't even shine one of Arnie's shoes.
However, Ricky does carry on some of the same personality traits as Arnold Palmer.
Sure, he's a nice guy. That's not the point I'm making. He couldn't serve Arnold Palmer breakfast. You're talking about two public figures that aren't even in the same stratosphere.
But of all the people to be doing some sort of homage to Arnold Palmer, I have way less of a problem with Ricky Fowler than I do with Puma.
Yeah, this isn't personal. He's Ricky. That's great. And he's great. But this is the king, bro. You can't compare people. You can't glue Ricky's face on his.
Well, they can and they did.
Can't we keep these greats on the pedestal they earned? Why the fuck are you bringing Arnold Palmer down to Ricky Fowler's level? Let him be, bro. He's got the crown on. He's at the head of the table. Jack and Tiger have more majors, but I'll tell you what, in golf heaven, There's one guy sitting at the head of the table picking up the tab, and that's Arnold Palmer. And you can ask any real fucking golfer. That's the truth. Leave the guy alone, for crying out loud. And you're going to put 600 umbrella logos on the sole of a fucking Puma shoe with Velcro straps? Get the fuck out of here.
You and I both played golf earlier this week. Part of the reason why we're taping this episode late. On Monday, I played at Mission Hills Country Club, the Dinosaur Tournament course, part of a media day for the Gallery Classic. Great day with our great friend Thomas Wrighton. Loved the course, but what I really like is...
Thomas Wrighton.
Well, yeah, of course, but just being out in the desert and peeling those pelts, there's nothing like it. It's just a steakhouse. The fillets are flying left, right, and center off the fairway. You could be hitting the ball like garbage, and you're still going to get a toupee soaring through the air with the Santa Rosa Mountains as the backdrop. Unbelievable to be out in the desert playing golf. It's peak season right now. We had a great time. However, once again, I gassed out on the back nine like I did at Meadowlark last week when we played together. And at one point, I turned to Thomas and I said, I know I'm out of shape. I know I'm stiff as a board in terms of flexibility. I know I'm on my third cigar and fifth cocktail. Why is this so exhausting? And Thomas said to me, I think you just named all the reasons why this is exhausting, Hawk. So what do I do about it is my question, because this is a trend now. Play like a hero for the first 14, 15 holes. Play like a donkey coming in. Do I stretch more? Do I smoke and drink less? What do I do? Do I turn my back on everything that I love about this game so that I can actually get into the house in one piece? Because right now, I'm sore as shit, and I played 48 hours ago.
Adam Hawk is a 12-hole 6 handicap, and he's an 18-hole 16. Start playing 9. Play 9 for a few months. Get your index down, get your confidence back, and start inching away.
You played on Monday, San Juan Hills golf course, part of a scramble. I asked you how it went, and don't mean to throw you under the bus here and out you in front of the 3 other people that you played with, but you said you were the only decent golfer in the group. You had to carry the team. You were playing in a scramble format, and I want to know what it's like to be the only guy in a scramble who has a chance at hitting a decent golf shot, thus playing your ball most of the day, probably serving as the anchor on the team, which means going last in the scramble, save the best for last, and knowing that basically the entire team's hopes for the day rested on you.
We had a ball. Most good players or better players, they like playing with the same good or better players. I'm the opposite. I love the hacks, especially the ones who, you know, when you see bad players but they have good attitudes, that's the greatest lesson in life. And it reminds you that that's the most important part of golf is the attitude. The guys I played with, they weren't club throwers. They didn't care that they played like shit. It was just a lot of fun. And you know me, I'd love the opportunity to try and come up clutch. I love the pressure. So I actually like playing in those scenarios because I can learn from their laid backish, fun-loving angle in the way they play, but also I get to kind of try to test myself a little bit, perform under pressure. And so I actually play better in those situations than I do when I'm playing with a bunch of good players. When I'm playing with a bunch of good guys, the pressure for me is different. The seriousness of it doesn't really fit my palate as much as when I'm playing with guys who are just really having fun. The music's going. They don't care that they just duffed it. We're laughing off bad shots. And then I get a chance to like put something up there. And what's cool about it is there was like this long par 3. You know how long par 3s are to higher handicaps. They just seem daunting. They seem a little intimidating. And it's just a golf hole, but they feel the pressure that they got to hit the green. No one hit the green. I put it up on the front. We had a long putt, but they were like, oh, thank God you're here. They were so stoked on that shot where normally I would have been like, that shot sucked. There's a lot of those instances where it makes me feel better too and realize that like we're stoked, we're putting, like it's all good. We had a really fun day and it was my 4th time out now with the old driver and I'm getting the hang of it and it's so fun playing this thing, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a challenge. It's definitely a lot of a take your medicine kind of vibe. You know, it's just so fun to hit that more stingy ball flight, shaping it a little bit more both ways, being a little further back. Really enjoying hitting that thing right now. It's kind of giving me a little jolt of golf stoke, which is really fun. And Every now and then it's good to get out of your comfort zone. I think I play with the same guys so much. It was fun, a lot of fun.
Yeah, and playing with the same guys will kind of lull you into a comfort zone that doesn't really help you as a golfer or as someone to play golf with if you're just used to the same personalities over and over. And that's no denigration of the Gillis group on Wednesday, but it is always good to get out there and spend some really good quality time with different people. So good for you for doing that. Let's wrap it up with some movie talk. Let's put on our Siskel and Ebert hats, and let's do this quickly. You went and saw Dune 2. This movie is the blockbuster of record for the spring season. I have zero interest in it. The first one sucked. It was boring. I have no idea why anyone likes this movie. The second one got a ton of hype, did a ton of big numbers at the box office, which is crazy in today's day and age when no one goes to the theaters. You went and saw it on opening weekend. You're a big sci-fi guy. Give me your quick Dune 2 review.
Well, first of all, Dune 1 didn't suck. It was great. They painted the picture. It's a story of a holy war built out in a future world, future galaxy. You gotta love it. I thought Dune 2 was remarkable. And when we were driving home, I looked to my wife and I said, I got kind of a hot take. I think Dune's better than Star Wars. I think they're very similar in their vibe and approach, very similar storylines, although Star Wars is supposed to be in the past, not the future. A lot of people forget about that. In a time far, far away, or whatever the beginning is.
I think it's a galaxy far, far away.
Whatever. But you know what I'm saying? Dune 2 was an amazing movie. I just felt the way that they painted that picture and the battle and the teaser of like what's next to come. And it seemed just a little more cool and edgy, and there's a little more grit to it than Star Wars. This Dune thing seems just a little more cool.
I'm glad you liked it. Speaking of movies, the 96th Academy Awards are this week, Sunday, March 10th. I consider myself a bit of a cinephile. I love great movies. I have zero tolerance for bad movies, and I try every year to watch as many Oscar-nominated pictures as possible. It has become more difficult for three reasons. One, they expanded the category to 10 movies, which is blatant marketing, so people think they have to go see more of these movies. Two, I have kids now. It takes my wife and me 2 hours to watch a 22-minute episode of television. Three, I used to work with someone in the business who would get screener DVDs, but I no longer have that hookup. So this year, I only saw 7 out of the 10 nominated pictures. I have seen Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Past Lives. I have not seen The Zone of Interest, American Fiction, or Poor Things. So here are my predictions of winners in the major 6 categories, with the caveat that I haven't seen some serious heavy hitters. First off, I have to say, disclaimer, Barbie has no business being nominated for anything, and that's not a sexist statement. I know it's very popular to call a guy who doesn't like the Barbie movie sexist, but it's a fact. It's a fine movie, but it's not an Oscar movie. It's a summer blockbuster, and that's it. And stop getting mad at guys who have that opinion. Barbie, the brand, put out a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, big-chested, anorexic doll for 50 years and sold them to young girls as something to aspire to. So don't come at me for not liking the movie and calling me sexist. If anyone or anything has done damage to women, it's Barbie. So shut the hell up. All right, Best Actor. This could and should go to either Bradley Cooper for Maestro or Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer. I believe it will go to Cillian. That's my pick. Best Actress, this will come down to Emma Stone for Poor Things and Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon. I believe it will go to Emma Stone. Best Director, tough because I didn't see Zone of Interest or Poor Things, but I think Christopher Nolan wins for Oppenheimer, despite the fact that that movie did have some flaws.
I love that movie.
It was good, but it had some flaws. Very weak category for supporting actor, but I think Mark Ruffalo will take Poor Things without seeing it, but I've read a lot of great reviews about his performance. Supporting actress, tough for me to guess here, but I'm going to go with DJ Randolph in The Holdovers because I saw that movie, and I think this is the only award that film has a chance of winning.
You're speaking Chinese at this point, dude.
To you. Best Picture, the Mac Daddy of them all, the award to end all awards. Of the 7 I saw, here are my favorites in order. 1, Oppenheimer. 2, Past Lives. 3, Maestro. 4, The Holdovers. 5, Killers of the Flower Moon. 6, Anatomy of a Fall, not good. Barbie, very stupid. I think this year it goes to Oppenheimer. Those are my 6 predictions. Let's see if I can go 6 for 6 without having seen 30% of the films. Good luck to me, and good luck to everyone nominated.
And a special hello to all you who are still here and listening after being tempted to turn this podcast off after that take.
I did it as fast as I could, and I just want to get those predictions on record because I got a feeling I'm going 6 for 6. It's a 6-point round for a 6-point player.
Can't wait to not care.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your takes on Disneyland and Dune.
Great takes.
All right, that's it for us. We will see you again next week. Thank you so much for listening.
What if Dune wins some stuff?